Never judge someone for their weird organizational habits. You never know what battles they've fought. For many who've endured narcissistic abuse, those habits aren't just quirks, they're survival strategies. Living in chaos, constantly scrutinized or controlled, can make someone cling to organizing as a way to feel safe and stable. From perfectly arranged pantries to obsessively detailed to-do lists, these behaviors tell a deeper story. Today we'll explore how narcissistic abuse shapes these habits and why they're more about healing than neatness. Are you ready for number 1? Over-categorizing files. Over-categorizing files might seem weird to most people with simple organizational skills. However, for survivors of narcissistic abuse, it's often a subconscious way to create order in a life once dominated by chaos and unpredictability. If you've dealt with a narcissist, you may find yourself creating intricate folder systems or breaking down tasks into excessively detailed steps, not for efficiency, but because it gives you a sense of safety and control. The need to hyper-organize is deeply tied to the constant fear of criticism that abuse instills. As Dr. Ramani Durvasula aptly puts it, survivors develop behaviors to feel in control because they've lived in spaces where nothing felt safe or predictable. It's not just about managing files, it's about managing anxiety and the lingering feeling that you'll be judged or blamed if something isn't perfect. While this habit may seem productive on the surface, it often masks an underlying struggle with self-trust and the need to feel secure in your own decisions. Let's talk about number 2. Reorganizing items after someone else uses them. Do you have that urge to maintain things aligned and in order? I bet you can relate if you've been around a narcissist. Their unpredictability and criticism can leave you feeling constantly on edge. So, you start reorganizing things after someone else uses them because it feels like a way to regain some control. As licensed marriage and family therapist Linda Martinez-Louis explains in her book Freeing Yourself from the Narcissist in Your Life, narcissistic abuse often leaves people hyper-aware of their environment, constantly adjusting to avoid conflict or judgment. The need to tidy up might feel like a small, safe way to restore some order, even if it's just in the little things around you. Let's move on to number 3. Organizing books by height, not genre, because it looks less chaotic. Most of us have visited libraries or bookstores, right? Do you pay attention to how books are arranged on the shelves? Do you feel the need to rearrange them? If you've been through narcissistic abuse, you may feel the urge to do so. You start organizing things in a way that looks neat to your eyes, even if it doesn't make practical sense. As psychologist and author Melanie Greenberg explains in her book The Stress-Proof Brain, people with emotional trauma often try to regain control through small actions to create order and calm in an otherwise chaotic world. Aligning your books by height creates a visual sense of stability, even if it means disregarding the more logical method of sorting by genre. It's your brain's way of reducing anxiety and trying to make everything look less chaotic, even if it's just your bookshelf. Now, let's continue to number 4. Folding laundry with military precision. Some people are skilled at folding clothes neatly. There are even video tutorials or hacks on how to fold laundry, especially during travels where you need to fit everything in your luggage. However, for people who've experienced narcissistic abuse, this is not about skill or talent. They fold clothes neatly and precisely as it gives them a sense of structure and control in their environment. As Dr. Sherry Campbell, a clinical psychologist and author of But It's Your Family, explains, narcissistic abuse often leaves you feeling powerless and hypervigilant, so you might find comfort in small tasks that you can control. Meticulously folding clothes may seem like a minor thing, but it becomes a way to create a sense of calm and order when everything else around you feels disorganized. You can't miss number 5. Always aligning objects perfectly parallel or perpendicular. When you're constantly exposed to a narcissist's unpredictable behavior, you might feel the need to create small, controlled moments of order so you feel more grounded. As Dr. Stephanie Sarkis, a therapist and author of Gaslighting, Recognize Manipulative and Emotionally Abusive People, explains, abuse victims often feel a lack of control over their environment, and aligning things gives them a sense of stability. You constantly sort objects like pens or chairs perfectly parallel or perpendicular. It could be a way of coping with the chaos left by narcissistic abuse. Even though it might seem like an odd habit, it's your way of trying to impose structure on a world that may feel messy and out of control. Are you still up for number 6? Rearranging groceries in the cart for aesthetic balance. Some people like rearranging the items in their carts while grocery shopping, like putting the cans and bottles in neat rows and aligning everything perfectly. If you've been through narcissistic abuse, this might be a weird habit that's crept into your routine. It's not about being organized. It's about trying to create control and balance in a world that feels chaotic. Dr. Alice Boyes, a clinical psychologist, points out that people who've experienced narcissistic abuse develop behaviors that are rooted in the need for control, even in the smallest aspects of life. This behavior can be an unconscious way of seeking order and stability when emotional chaos has been the norm. You're trying to put your life in neat rows when everything else feels out of place. This kind of habit can stem from trying to deal with hypervigilance and the need for perfectionism after constant emotional upheaval. Let's keep it moving to number 7. Organizing clothes by color, season, and type, all at once. Do you feel the urge to organize your clothes like you're prepping for a department store display, sorted by color, season, and type, all at the same time? It might seem like just a weird habit, but if you've been through narcissistic abuse, it's often about more than just being tidy. Psychologist Dr. Craig Malkin, in his book Rethinking Narcissism, explains that people recovering from narcissistic relationships often develop hyper-organized behaviors to cope with lingering anxiety and a fear of chaos. You're reclaiming a sense of stability by controlling your environment down to the tiniest detail, like your closet. It's as if your brain is saying, if my sweaters are in order, so is my life. Here comes number 8. Creating playlists for every mood to manage emotional triggers. Do you have a playlist on your phone? One for every mood, moment, or meltdown? It might seem like you're just into music, but if you've been through narcissistic abuse, this is often more about emotional survival than a love for Spotify. Music becomes your safe space, a way to process feelings and shield yourself from emotional triggers. As best-selling author Julie Hall explains in The Narcissist in Your Life, survivors often develop creative coping mechanisms to regulate their emotions, especially when they've had to walk on eggshells for years. Playlists give you control over your emotional environment. Feeling anxious? Here's the calming playlist. Feeling angry? Cue the empowering songs. It's like building your emotional toolkit because your ex probably wasn't the one handing out healthy coping strategies. Moving on to number 9. Packing for trips weeks in advance. Do you often prepare your things weeks before your travel? If yes, it might be you're just super prepared or excited. However, if you've dealt with narcissistic abuse, this habit is probably tied to something deeper, like trying to avoid the chaos you've had too much of in the past. Lindsay Gibson, author of Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, explains that people who've been in controlling or unpredictable environments develop hyper-organized habits as a way to feel safe. Packing weeks before your trip is your brain's way of saying, if I control this, nothing will go wrong. It's a survival strategy wrapped in a suitcase. Plus, you've probably had enough last-minute panic to last a lifetime. So this is your way of saying, not today, chaos. Finally, we're down to number 10. Organizing photos in chronological order and by event. Are you the type of person who tends to perfectly organize your photo albums, with every picture sorted by date, event, and probably even subcategories like sunny days or vacation smiles? At first glance, it might just look like you're detail-oriented, but if you've been through narcissistic abuse, this habit could be your way of finding order in a life that felt chaotic. According to Dr. Judith Herman in Trauma and Recovery, survivors of emotional trauma often try to reclaim a sense of control by creating structure, even in small things. Organizing photos is like piecing together your life story in a way that makes sense to you. After years of having your reality questioned or dismissed, this is your way of saying, this happened and I can prove it. Plus, those albums are like your personal time machine, evidence that your memories and experiences matter. The next time you see someone obsessing over organizing things, pause before judging. It might be their way of finding control and safety after enduring narcissistic abuse. What seems weird to one person could be a lifeline to someone else, helping them heal from chaos and regain peace. So, whether it's a color-coded closet or perfectly aligned spice jars, remember that healing looks different for everyone, and those habits deserve understanding, not ridicule.